Not every truck was built to be comfortable. Not every truck was designed to impress. Some were built for one reason only: to survive. Before aerodynamics, before onboard computers, before fuel-saving plastic panels, there was an era when semi-trucks were forged from steel, powered by raw displacement, and expected to haul until something physically broke, usually the road. These machines didn't care about fuel economy. They didn't care about driver comfort. And they definitely didn't care about regulations. They were loud, they were heavy, and they ruled highways, mines, forests, and construction sites across the world. Many of them are still running today, not in museums, but on real roads, pulling real loads, decades after they were supposed to disappear. These are the 10 classic semi-trucks from the 1960s to the 1980s that still rule the road. Number 10. International Transtar 2. The International Transtar 2 was never designed to be admired. It was designed to be used, abused, overloaded, and sent back onto the highway again the next morning. Introduced in the late 1970s, this truck represented a time when manufacturers assumed drivers would push machines past their limits and engineered them accordingly. At its core, the Transtar 2 was brutally mechanical. No digital systems. No fragile wiring looms controlling critical functions. Throttle response, braking, steering, and drivetrain behavior were all direct and physical. When something went wrong, a mechanic didn't plug in a laptop. He opened the hood and fixed it with tools and experience. That simplicity is exactly why so many of these trucks survived long after fleets retired them on paper. Under the hood, the Transtar 2 was often equipped with proven diesel engines from Cummins or Detroit Diesel. These engines weren't tuned for efficiency. They were tuned for endurance. Low-end torque mattered more than horsepower because hauling heavy freight across long grades was daily life, not a rare event. These power plants could run hundreds of thousands of miles with minimal attention as long as oil and fuel kept flowing. The cab itself reflected the same philosophy. It wasn't luxurious. It was solid. Thick steel panels, simple gauges, and a layout designed so nothing rattled itself loose over time. Drivers trusted the truck because it behaved the same every day. No surprises, no hidden failures. Today, Transtar 2s are still working in agricultural hauling, equipment transport, and regional freight. They aren't restored showpieces, they're still earning their keep. That alone proves what kind of machine this really was. Number 9. Ford LTL 9000. The Ford LTL 9000 came from a short but serious chapter in Ford's history, when the company decided it wasn't enough to build consumer vehicles. They wanted dominance in the heavy trucking world, and the LTL 9000 was built to prove that Ford could compete head-to-head with the toughest names in Class 8 hauling. This truck was engineered with an industrial mindset. The frame was heavy, rigid, and designed to handle years of torsional stress from uneven loads and poor road conditions. Fleets quickly learned that the LTL could be overloaded without immediate consequences, a dangerous habit, but one that revealed how much margin Ford built into the platform. Engine options included Cummins and Caterpillar diesels, engines chosen not for marketing appeal, but for reliability under constant strain. These trucks pulled hard, climbed confidently, and didn't fade under heat or load. Long-haul drivers remember the LTL 9000 as stable and predictable at speed, even when hauling heavy freight across open highways. Inside the cab, comfort was secondary to durability. Switches were chunky, gauges were clear, nothing felt delicate. Everything felt like it belonged in a machine expected to live its entire life, vibrating at highway speed. Ford eventually exited the heavy truck market, but the LTL 9000 remains one of the strongest arguments that they knew exactly what they were doing. Many of these trucks survived well beyond Ford's involvement, kept alive by operators who valued strength over branding. Number 8. Mack R Series. The Mack R Series didn't earn its reputation through advertising. It earned it through years of punishment that would have destroyed lesser machines. Introduced in the 1960s and produced into the 1980s, the R model became one of the most respected work trucks ever built. Mack's philosophy was simple: design everything in-house and make it all work together. Engines, transmissions, axles, everything was engineered as a unified system. This eliminated weak links and made the truck incredibly tolerant of abuse. Where mixed-brand drivetrains failed under torque stress, the R-Series kept pulling. These trucks were never fast. Speed wasn't the goal, control and endurance were. Construction sites, dump operations, refuse hauling, and regional freight all relied on the R model because it thrived in stop-and-go punishment. Clutches survived longer, frames cracked less, drivetrains stayed tight. The cab was Spartan but strong. Thick steel construction meant doors still closed properly after decades of use. Visibility was excellent, and drivers trusted the truck's predictable behavior even in difficult conditions. Many Mack R-Series trucks are still working today. Not restored, not modified, just maintained and used. In an industry where most vehicles are disposable, that level of longevity is extraordinary. Number 7. GMC General. The GMC General was General Motors' last truly serious attempt at a no-nonsense Class 8 highway tractor. Introduced in the late 1970s, it was built at a time when trucks were expected to work hard for decades, not be replaced every few years. What made the GMC General special was its restraint. GM didn't try to reinvent trucking. Instead, they focused on proven components and heavy construction. The ladder frame was thick and rigid. Suspension components were oversized. Everything about the truck suggested it was meant to be driven hard. Many Generals were powered by Detroit diesel two-stroke engines, legendary for their sound and their ability to run almost indefinitely. These engines weren't quiet or clean, but they were dependable. Drivers could hear and feel exactly what the engine was doing, a level of feedback modern trucks simply don't provide. The cab was solid and straightforward. No excess insulation, no luxury trim, just enough comfort to survive long hauls without distracting from the job. Fleets appreciated how easy the truck was to maintain, and drivers respected how little it demanded in return. When GM exited the heavy truck market, the GMC General didn't disappear. It stayed on the road, quietly, proving that its design had outlived the corporate strategy behind it. Number 6. Kenworth K100. The Kenworth K100 existed because the rules demanded it, but it survived because it was engineered properly. During the 1960s and 1970s, strict length regulations forced truck manufacturers to rethink design. The K100 answered that challenge with a cab-over layout that sacrificed comfort for control, visibility, and raw mechanical strength. This was not a soft truck. Sitting directly over the engine meant drivers felt everything: heat, vibration, sound, and torque. But that same design delivered unmatched maneuverability and road awareness. In tight docks, urban freight yards, and winding mountain routes, the K100 could go places long-nosed trucks simply couldn't. Under the cab, the K100 was often powered by Cummins or Caterpillar diesel's engines, chosen because they could handle sustained high loads without overheating or losing torque. These engines weren't tuned for speed, they were tuned for pulling. Long grades, heavy trailers, and brutal schedules were routine. The structure of the K100 was pure Kenworth philosophy. Thick steel cab construction, a rigid frame, and drivetrain components designed to be rebuilt repeatedly. This wasn't a disposable truck, it was a platform meant to evolve through multiple life cycles. Yes, the ride was harsh. Yes, maintenance access required tilting the cab. But drivers who ran K100s respected them because they never lied. When something was wrong, you knew immediately. And when everything was right, the truck delivered exactly what it promised, day after day. Today, surviving K100s are still working or meticulously restored, not because they're nostalgic, but because they earned respect the hard way. Number 5. White Road Commander. The White Road Commander was never flashy, never trendy, and never loud about what it could do, and that's exactly why it lasted. Built during an era when trucking margins were thin and downtime was unforgivable, the Road Commander focused on one thing: reliability under pressure. White Motor Company engineered this truck for fleets that demanded uptime above all else. The frame was heavy and conservative. The cab design was simple, reinforced, and free from unnecessary complexity. Nothing existed unless it served a purpose. Engine options included Cummins and Caterpillar diesels, chosen because they were already proven in brutal commercial service. These engines weren't experimental, They were dependable, rebuildable, and widely understood by mechanics across the country. What truly defined the Road Commander was its tolerance for harsh environments: cold starts, dust, long idle times, overweight trailers. This truck absorbed abuse without protest. Operators trusted it because it rarely surprised them, and in trucking, predictability is survival. When White Motor Company faded, the trucks didn't. Many road commanders continued hauling grain, industrial freight, and regional loads well into the 1990s and beyond. They outlived the brand itself, quietly proving that good engineering doesn't need marketing to survive. Number 4. Freightliner FLC 120. The Freightliner FLC 120 came from a period when Freightliners still believed weight reduction and durability could coexist. While many competitors relied purely on steel mass, Freightliner took a different approach, using aluminum strategically without compromising structural integrity. The result was a long-nose highway tractor that handled heavy loads while remaining lighter than many rivals. This mattered. Less empty weight meant more payload, better fuel efficiency, and less strain on components over long distances. Power came from trusted Detroit diesel and Cummins engines, paired with manual transmissions capable of handling sustained torque loads. These trucks weren't quick, but they were consistent. Mile after mile, they delivered the same predictable performance. Drivers appreciated the FLC 120's balance: stable at highway speed, forgiving under load, easy to service. The cab was comfortable by the standards of the time, but never fragile. Everything was built with longevity in mind. Many FLC 120s crossed the million-mile mark without major drivetrain replacements. That kind of endurance doesn't happen by accident. It happens when engineering decisions prioritize durability over cost-cutting. Number 3. Peterbilt 359/559. The Peterbilt 359 wasn't just a truck, it was a declaration. Built throughout the 1970s, the 359 embodied everything owner-operators valued: strength, serviceability, and pride. The long hood wasn't for looks. It housed massive Caterpillar and Cummins engines designed to pull heavy freight without strain. Torque delivery was smooth, controlled, and relentless. These trucks didn't rush, they endured. Peterbilt built the 359 with thick frames, reinforced suspensions, and a cab designed to survive decades of vibration. This was a truck meant to be rebuilt, repainted, and run again, not discarded. Even today, a 359 rolling down the highway commands attention, not because it's loud, but because it represents an era when trucks were investments, not expenses. Number 2. Kenworth W900. The early Kenworth W900 didn't become legendary by accident. It earned its reputation mile by mile, breakdown by breakdown, and rebuild by rebuild. Introduced in the early 1960s and refined throughout the 70s and 80s, the W900 was built around one core idea: a truck should outlive its first engine. Everything about the W900 reflected that mindset. The frame rails were thick and overbuilt, designed to resist twisting under heavy loads and uneven roads. Kenworth assumed the truck would be worked hard, overloaded occasionally, and kept in service for decades. So they engineered margin into every major component. Under the hood, the W900 accepted some of the most respected diesel engines ever produced: Cummins, Caterpillar, and Detroit diesel. These engines weren't chosen for efficiency or emissions. They were chosen because they could pull heavy freight across mountains without overheating, detonating, or losing torque. When they finally wore out, they weren't replaced. The truck was rebuilt around them. The cab was another defining feature. Aluminum construction helped resist corrosion, while the layout prioritized serviceability and durability over luxury. Switchgear was simple. Gauges were honest. If something failed, it was mechanical and fixable. Owner-operators loved the W900 because it belonged to them. It could be customized, stretched, repowered, and upgraded without compromising the platform. Fleets respected it because downtime was rare and predictable. Even today, early W900s still haul freight across North America. Not because they're efficient, not because they're modern, but because they were built to survive an industry that destroys weak machines. Number 1. Mack Superliner. The Mack Superliner stands at the top of this list for one reason. It was engineered without compromise. This truck was never meant for average freight. It was built for the heaviest loads, the worst terrain, and the most unforgiving duty cycles imaginable. Mining, construction, heavy equipment transport, places where failure wasn't inconvenient, it was catastrophic. The Superliner's frame was massive, far heavier than what most highway tractors required. Cooling systems were oversized to prevent overheating under extreme loads. Axles, drivetrains, and suspensions were selected not for cost or weight, but for sheer strength. Mack's integrated design philosophy played a huge role here. Engines, transmissions, and axles were designed to work together, reducing weak points and spreading stress evenly across the system. This made the Superliner brutally reliable under conditions that destroyed other trucks. The cab itself was built like industrial equipment. Thick steel panels, minimal insulation, nothing delicate. Drivers didn't sit in the truck, they sat inside a machine. Noise, vibration, and heat were part of the job, and the Superliner never tried to hide that reality. What truly separates the Superliner from other classics is that many are still doing the exact jobs they were built for. Not restored, not preserved. Still hauling extreme loads in remote regions where modern trucks struggle to survive. The Mack Superliner didn't just rule the road. It dominated environments where roads barely existed. So that's it for today. If you like this video, then please hit the like and subscribe button for more videos. Thanks for watching.